and I would go to the various, companies and say, listen, Barbados have 300,000 people, Jamaica have 3 million. Them like whiskey, sell whiskey in Jamaica, them would drink water, sell water in Jamaica, why aren't you trying to tap into that market? And, the conversation, like, yeah, we'll look into it. But the question, for us is, why aren't more and more companies looking at different markets for themselves, right? And what that will do is build brand recognition, it will build, earnings, etc. And then from that brand recognition, they'll be able to then raise money and etc.
But from your experience, what are the companies telling you that's causing them to be aggressive when it comes to that?
I can't even tell you because some of it is, in terms of appetite, conservatism, but Jamaican companies, what I call is the opposite. Jamaican companies are in the EC, are in Barbados, are in Trinidad. So I think for them, when I ask those companies, hey, would you consider cross-listing there? Their issues sometimes are, well, boy, I am okay with the Jamaica Stock Exchange, I know one rules there, but I don't have the bandwidth to, ticking all the boxes here and ticking all the boxes in the EC and ticking all the boxes in Trinidad. It needs to have some level of conformity, which I know that has been something on the agenda of all the stock exchanges coming together. And that is much closer than than where it was before. Another area is that they hold companies, subsidiaries in those various territories. So what could also be important for inclusion is for those subsidiaries based in those various territories. So, and I think that those conversations have started to bear fruit. There are companies that have said, hey, I am thinking of listing my subsidiary in various jurisdictions to ensure that that company can grow and access capital, and more investors can have exposure to those credits.
All right, so I don't want to jump in at the debate. We have a few minutes remaining, so I'm gonna have you respond. Has that been your experience, Noah? And then I'm gonna ask my final question and allow for a few minutes for the audience to ask their own question.
Similar to Chris, yes. It's hard. And I think a big part of it is that, again, the Jamaican stock market is a little bit more developed. When you speak to somebody in Barbados, the average person is a little afraid of equities because they don't really understand it, and they can put their money in the bank and get a sure return. And people like to know that their interest rate is 5% versus their return over time, maybe 10%. They like sure things, right? So you have a little bit of conservativeness. And again, I think the Jamaica Stock Exchange has done an incredible job at doing investor education initiatives, which has helped a lot. So of course, everybody bought Lincoln, everybody bought TGH, yes, Chris, yes. So there is a lot more familiarity and the flip and the excitement and the junior stock market companies that were listed. In the other Caribbean countries, you don't really have that kind of excitement. And then there is not a lot of liquidity on those markets. So sometimes if you look, you'll see a lot of securities listed, but there's no trading activity. So then your money gets locked up there and nothing is happening. So they'll just prefer to put your money somewhere where again, the return is sure. So there needs to be a lot more work. Again, it comes back to education. People put their money when they understand it. There needs to be a lot more education. There needs to be some more integration. And I know that work is happening, but it has to happen faster if we want to see that kind of collaboration, integration, impact the region in a meaningful way.
For you, Sarah, what would you say are low-hanging opportunities for persons sitting in this room, for those watching online, to help to foster more inclusion and potentially the flow of more liquidity in the region?
So we talked about, in Jamaica's case, I don't think creativity is about complexity. My view is it's about trust and relevance. So Luana spoke about it's our responsibility as arrangers to make sure we're bringing products that meet investor demands, while meeting our issuers' objectives and also meeting regulatory expectations. And I think when that alignment happens, the liquidity will follow, right? On my side, in terms of structuring beyond the required disclosures that we're required to make from a regulatory standpoint, we really focus on what is the value being created in this transaction. So in terms of investor education, we go beyond just use of proceeds. I find that there's a lot of emphasis on historical performance, and we need to, as arrangers, as issuers, speak more about the go forward. Pro forma, what is this transaction expected to deliver? What value am I creating when I close this? And if we can articulate that in a simple, clear way to investors, where, as to Luana's point, they understand, they have confidence in what they're investing, they trust in what they're investing, they'll get the participation and they'll see the liquidity come.
Good closing words. I do have one more question for Tracy, but before I do that, with a few seconds, do we have any questions from the audience? Does anyone have any questions for panelists? I see one hand, so we have a roving microphone to potentially take that question.
Where's the question? You don't want to meet me halfway, you want us to work off the lunch.
Thank you, good afternoon. My name is Esther. I am from the Financial Services Commission, and I do appreciate the conversations about the pension funds and the pension industry. So what a lot was said about education and educating the public. So what I want to know is what practical ways are we educating the common man to increase pension participation in Jamaica? So what are the practical ways we can increase education amongst the general public to increase pension participation?
All right, so that question is particular to pensions. While this panel is, their experience is mostly capital markets, I see Sarah and Luana looking to be interested in responding, so I'll have Sarah go.
Thank you for your question. So I work with pension funds from a trustee relationship, right? And I think you're talking about individuals, so for them to acknowledge the importance of participating in pensions. From a trend perspective, a lot of the newer companies aren't even establishing pensions. At Scotia, the alternative that we have to offer these companies is our approved retirement schemes, Scotia Bridge. And in terms of getting that buy-in from employees at Scotia Investments, collaborating with Scotia Insurance and the company, we basically do roadshow events, right? So we've seen where, I said, pension funds can have changed, right? Maybe they close their pension and move to this approved retirement scheme option, and they're not seeing the take-up. So to your point, it really has to be an intentional approach. And what we tend to do is we bring the asset managers to the company, we bring our Scotia Insurance partners to really illustrate. We use a lot of examples, right, in terms of, because we can't think so far into the future, right? So we really illustrate what the benefit is once you reach retirement age. This is what your returns can be. And I think it causes a bit of an aha moment. And that's effectively, our approach, right? Working closely with the companies that we have in our portfolio.
Yeah, it's a similar approach for us at Proven Wealth. So we also have an approved retirement scheme, Proven Rock, and we find that there is a lot of interest in entering that arrangement, especially for smaller companies who maybe do not want to establish a segregated pension fund for their employees because of the cost. They will allow us to come in and speak to their employees and educate them and onboard them into Boomerang Rock. One of the ways that we find that will attract persons is if there is a matching that happens from the company side. So, okay, my company is putting up 5%, I put up 5%. That is a lot more compelling than if there is no support from the company. So, while we are still speaking to individuals, we are also targeting those companies and speaking to their senior executives to get buy-in to ensure that, yes, we're coming to present, but they need to see that you care and that it makes sense, because if the company is investing in it, then it's likely that you will get the take-up that you want.
All right, so see we're fully out of time, so let me take the opportunity to say thank you to my panelists, ladies and gentlemen. Please put your hands together for them. That this panel was certainly useful for you, and we know that the team will be on the ground representing their respective organizations. And of course, if you have no questions, you can definitely stop them. I know Tracy may want to at some point share a few tangible technological opportunities, and of course, you can find their booth on the ground. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so very much.
And thank you, Mr. Devon Keys, for ably moderating that session. Another round of applause for our panelists. Sarah Cummings, Scotia Investments Jamaica Limited, Luana Williams, Proven Wealth, Tracy Greeley, Finastra, and Christopher Chris, NCB Capital Markets Limited. Please give them another round of applause. So we are moving shortly into our next presentation, which is financing SMEs. And then, you know that we have the exciting venture capital pitch room after that presentation. So at this time, let me welcome to the stage our moderator, Mr. Nigel Cole, Chairman, Northern Caribbean University Media Advisory Board. So our next topic, financing SMEs. Please welcome Nigel Cole. Ladies and gentlemen, I know it's late in the afternoon, but let me do that again. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Mr. Nigel Cole. Good.
Good afternoon, everyone. Let me use this opportunity once again to recognize all our sponsors that are displayed on the screen. Without them, we would not have this conference, and we appreciate the ones who have been here from the initial beginning of the conference. So we are to look at financing SMEs, and to make a presentation on such is Mr. Norman Thompson, who currently serves as the lead investment officer of the financial sector at IDB Invest. Prior to joining IDB Invest, he has several senior roles at First Group Outbound, serving there as Vice Corporate Banking, Vice President of Personal and Business Banking, Assistant Vice President of Business Banking. His career also spans over a decade at the National Commercial Bank and credit union sector, where he held senior leadership roles. The rest of his profile is there in the book, and so as to move with the time which we are out of, help me welcome Mr. Norman Thompson to the podium.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. It's indeed a pleasure to speak with you today as we explore how IDB invests in supporting growth, resilience, and long-term competitiveness of SMEs and to some extent MSMEs in Jamaica and across the Caribbean. Everything I share with you today is grounded in who we are as an institution and the challenges facing our region and the concrete solutions presented in this step for you. Who we are. The IDB Group, with more than 60 years of regional experience and its AAA credit rating, offers a unique value proposition institutions right across the Caribbean. The IDB is the public arm of the group, focusing on financing, knowledge sharing for governments and public entities in Latin America and the Caribbean, particularly some sectors such as infrastructure, health, and education. IDB now is the innovation and venture capital arm, providing funding to early-stage startups, entrepreneurs, and disruptive ideas in Latin America and the Caribbean. While IDB Invest, which I'm a part of, is the private sector arm, and it finances sustainable business projects focused on driving economic growth, job creation, and innovation by providing innovative financial solutions. These three institutions operate as one integrated ecosystem, supporting the public and private sectors across Latin America and the Caribbean. At a glance, you will see that we have 48 shareholders, and we are owned by governments in the region. And as you can note, 54% of IDB Invest is actually held by Latin America and the Caribbean countries. We have 28 offices across the region, and of course the AAA rating, which I previously mentioned. Now, the IDB Invest value proposition. IDB Invest centers on driving economic and social development in Latin America and the Caribbean. In summary, what we do, we deploy our own capital as well as blended finance and mobilize resources from the market, including investment houses, institutional investors, donors, and development finance institutions. We enhance transactions with technical assistance or advisory projects to support our clients' growth and build capacity and knowledge. Additionally, we collaborate with our companies within the group to generate synergies around enabling environments such as regulatory matters and to foster innovation. Our comprehensive suite of financial products span the entire spectrum, from senior debt and equity to mezzanine financing, guarantees, and blended financing solutions. Now, we work with clients right across the region, and these are primarily our priority sectors that I would like to highlight this afternoon. On the infrastructure, you'll find energy, transport, water and sanitation, along with social infrastructure. On the corporate, you look at agribusiness, manufacturing, tourism, and of course the digital economy. And on the financial intermediaries, we work closely with the banks and the nearbanks, and of course some investment funds.
Yes, please, can you make the discussion, especially over on the left, please let your conversation get to spending officers. Go ahead, Mr. Thomas.
Thank you. SMEs are the backbone of our economy,
covering 99.5% of all firms across Latin America and the Caribbean. They also generate 60% of formal employment, serving as a critical agent for job creation, social mobility, and community stability. When SMEs thrive, local economies grow, and when they struggle, we feel it right across the economy. Now, why do SMEs matter? In Latin America and the Caribbean, they represent overwhelmingly the majority of business. And despite their significant contributions, SMEs face quite a number of challenges. The gap is $1 trillion in financing, which restricts their capacity to grow, innovate, and build resilience. This highlights the importance of SMEs. When they succeed, we all succeed. Now, the SMEs do contribute to all areas of our sectors, and conversely, we know that when SMEs do struggle, they represent a significant effect right across the region. I want us to focus a bit on this fact. 41% of adults in the region lack access to formal financial services, a challenge that disproportionately affects rural communities, women, youth, and vulnerable groups. This financial exclusion affects wider social inequalities linked to gender, race, age, and income. Now, these challenges are even more acute in the Caribbean, where the adoption of digital payments remains slow, and many entrepreneurs lack the credit history or collateral necessary to secure formal financing. Of note, the region's annual remittance flows is now exceeding $130 billion. I think there is an opportunity here for financial inclusion. Now I'm going to look again at some more factors, but in this case I'm going to look at factors constraining SMEs. And as I mentioned before, there are some constraints. And although again they are vital to the economic growth, they face internal and external obstacles that hinder their development. Internally, they often lack sufficient managerial skills, employing training, technological advancement, and effective business practices which limit productivity and competitiveness. And externally, we're quite familiar with the challenges of access to funding, inefficient market structures, and a challenging business environment marked by regulatory, infrastructure, and at times policy issues. These further restrict the progress of SMEs and affect their productivity, growth, and at many cases is the reason for the informality. Now, IDB Invest brings a complete toolkit with deep knowledge of the sector and the region to expand SME financing and strengthen the enabling environment that supports growth. I look at some of the products. On the financial solutions, we offer loans, guarantees, equity, messaging instruments, and specialized financial products tailored to intermediaries that serve SMEs. Through trade and supply chain finance, capital market instruments, structured and blended finance, we help institutions extend their reach to underserved clients, including women-led business, rural MSMEs, and micro-enterprises. Our advisory services cover climate resilience, corporate governance, environmental and social risk management, technology and innovation, as well as public-private partnerships. These capabilities help clients strengthen performance, reduce risk, and become more competitive. To unlock the full potential of our SMEs, we must focus on solutions. And those solutions must meet their actual needs. SME needs are covered right across the spectrum, accessible to long-term financing, technical assistance to strengthen management and corporate governance, and the digital tools that help them expand sales and reduce costs. They also need support to meet sustainability standards, navigate regulations, and enter new markets. Now, this is where IDB IDB Invest plays a critical role. Through financial intermediation, trade finance guarantees, advisory services, and digital and strategic tools like our Let's Digital Pay program, we help firms modernize and grow. We also provide risk-sharing instruments targeted finance for women-led and green SMEs. And of course, blended finance solutions that make previously reachable or previously unreachable projects viable. In short, we bring the capital, the expertise, and the partnerships that help SMEs scale, compete, and succeed. I want to highlight one area of financial solutions that resonates with many now in this space, and that is blended finance. One of the most powerful tools in our arsenal is blended finance, the strategic use of flexible capital to catalyze private investment in high-impact projects that face real or perceived risk barriers. Now, blended finance helps turn almost bankable projects into viable investment by offering patient capital, reducing financial costs, covering specific risks, improving project structures, and incentivizing gender and climate outcomes. Now, think of it as a blend or a cocktail. We mix public capital from donors with IDB Invest own capital and private investment to make projects happen. Projects that otherwise wouldn't get off the ground. A little more on what is blended finance. It's very targeted and its use of concessional funding in high-impact projects in which actual or perceived risks are too high for commercial finance alone. Now, why does this matter? Blended finance enables IDB Invest to expand the pool of investable development assets in Latin America and the Caribbean by deploying catalytic capital where it is most needed, supporting our originate to share business model. Now, when do we use blended finance? When a project is close to commercial viability but still requires temporary support, subsidy to attract private investment. Now, generally, projects needing permanent or long-term subsidies are better suited for public funding, and fully commercial projects can be financed by private investors. Blended finance sits in the middle and is used to bridge the gap for projects that can become sustainable with short-term support. Beyond financing, IDB Invest focuses on creating the right environment for SMEs to thrive. We work to promote innovation, strengthen institutions, and improve the digital and regulatory ecosystem that SMEs depend on. At the same time, we help our clients build the capabilities they need to better serve SMEs, supporting stronger participation, improving business and sustainability skills, and expanding access to digital tools and means and markets right across the region. In short, we go beyond just funding, but also help those who are in the ecosystem. We work with our partners across the region, particularly banks and other finance houses, and this is an indication of some of the impact we have created. Over 65.4 billion in total activity, 750,000 jobs created, and 21.4 billion on assets. And note, of course, the 4.9 million MSMEs financed. Now, why does this matter for Jamaica? Jamaica is uniquely positioned at a moment of economic transformation, yet to fully seize the opportunities ahead. Digitalization, climate investment, sustainable tourism, supply chain integration, SMEs must be at the center of the country's growth strategy. IDB Invest is working closely with the Jamaican private sector, and from my desk, we're particularly working with the banks and other financial institutions to expand SME access to credit and long-term capital, accelerate digital and financial inclusion, inclusion, promote gender equality, use entrepreneurship, strengthen agribusiness value chains, improve climate resilience across industries, mobilize global capital for local impact, and our commitment is very clear. We're here to help Jamaican SMEs grow, compete, and lead. The future of Jamaica and the Caribbean is shaped by those entrepreneurs who dare to imagine more. The innovators building digital solutions, the small manufacturers expanding production, the agribusiness modernizing operations, and the community enterprises uplifting families. These are the change makers who will transform our economies, and I invest tangible to help unlock those potential. Together, let us continue the conversation and walk into the future with SMEs that are able to deliver more. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Thompson. Very interesting presentation. I say that with the background that it's always, sometimes you see the news and the small businesses are saying government needs to do more for them, government needs to do more. So the question, as anyone with questions, you can come to the mic. So the question, how does IDB runs the finances to these SMEs? How do they get the money?
IDB invests particularly that we work with the financial institutions, particularly banks, and we fund the banks to onboard and lend to SMEs. Now, we don't dictate, the rate that is passed on to the end user, but how important, as I mentioned in our values, we don't just fund, we also couple that with technical assistance to the financial institution so they can deliver a more value-added product for the SME.
Okay, do you dictate the rate at which over
we allow the financial institutions work within their product suite to deliver that product. They are
these rates given to them, they don't market, something like that?
We try not to crowd out, so we stay at the market. What we do crowd in are investors to bring the solution to the financial houses so they can further assist the SMEs.
Does that mean there are different rates then between banks, institutions?
Different rates?
Yes.
But yes, that exists right now. The fact is, financial institutions are able to price based on the risk that they see.
Okay. Any questions from the floor? Okay, we have one question. Is the mic here for me?
I'm just going to follow up on your answer, Sean. I think your questions are excellent questions. Because IDB's rate, it says it's not capped. So it's left to the commercial bank to charge whatever rate in their need to maximize the profitability that they believe is desirable. But IDB is giving funding, no interest funding at, I don't know what it is. So my question is, if you're lending in the agricultural sector, which again you cannot afford, I don't know. Should there not be a mechanism to ensure that should you not prohibit the bank from going to say, you want to spend money? But maybe the agriculture sector cannot absorb a market. Should there be some mechanism to make sure that they don't exceed what the next is?
That's really not our model. And how we try to work with that is that I mentioned, we also work with the financial institutions to bring in blended products. And those come with a lot of patient, I can call that as patient capital, to allow the financial institutions to tailor specific products to serve that specific sector.
So you should then know what rate financial institution charge to the ultimate customer.
That's not about what
I don't think that's about it.
we don't need interest rates.
What are the possible challenges versus maybe?
Just a quick follow-up question to that. Digital full disclosure, former employer identity. But this has been a challenge because for agriculture sector in particular, the interest rates just are not there to so many times support for small farmers, SMEs in the Caribbean region. They did work for large farms in, Latin America and Africa. And so we really have to talk about food security, food sovereignty, and creating job creation. We really have to rethink how do we create the spread between what you're getting in the monitoring and what you're preparing for the market without, as you say, changing the market. So we have to probably do some more homework, especially practice we're going through. Follow-up question. What about credit unions? Are they in that list of companies that banks belong to?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do serve all members of the financial sector, including the credit union.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm showing the stop sign. Thank you very much, Mr. Thompson, for your presentation. Let's give a round of applause on Zoom.
Thank you very much, Mr. Thompson. You dropped from the stage. I beat up the investment money from my shoes. Thank you very much for that very interesting, engaging presentation, and thank you very much for your moderation skills, Nigel Cole. And ladies and gentlemen, aren't you delighted that you have been able to stay in the Jamaica Pegasus Ballroom for all day from 9 o'clock this morning? And we're going to a very, very exciting time in our evening, our venture capital pitch room. And this session is going to be led by none other than Mr. Javon Keys. So ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome you back to the stage, and things are getting hot in the Pegasus Ballroom.
Thank you so very much. Good afternoon once again, ladies and gentlemen. Are you ready for the exciting venture capital pitch room? Alright, so that was a false start, or maybe a faulty start. I do track and field announcing, so you're allowed in that instance. Let me try again. Are you ready for the exciting venture capital pitch room? That is much better. So, the Jamaica Stock Exchange Capital Pitch Room is an ideal place to seek capital funding and get exposure for a business venture in front of an audience. That's you, judging panel, venture capitalists, investment bankers, and journalists. Now, the pitch room finale features a 1-hour segment where 6 fortunate entrepreneurs will have precisely 6 minutes to pitch their proposals for venture capital funding. Sounds pretty exciting. Now, the pitch must state clearly what product or service is on offer, the unique value being offered or competitive advantage it has, the amount and type of funding being requested, and the purpose for which it will be used. Now, they must also state what percentage stake of the business are they willing to give up, and the judges will identify the top 3 most promising new or existing ventures, of which 1 will receive financial and technical assistance. And guess what? There are prizes involved here. The first place prize is not 1, not 2, not 300, but $500,000. Second place gets $100,000, and third place $50,000. I want you to give a better round of applause for those prizes for the top 3. Now, of course, the proposals will be judged on business viability, clarity of presentation, feasible organizational and marketing strategy, and demonstrating expertise and passion for the business by the entrepreneurs. Now, of course, our esteemed judges are Lysandra Rickard, executive coach, ACC, leadership development and entrepreneur ecosystem development, empowering leaders and building thriving and startup ecosystem. Ladies and gentlemen, Lysandra Rickard, where are you? Andrea Bolton Fife is our next judge, leadership and management consultant. Where's Andrea? In her absence, we give her a round of applause. Oh, Andrea is certainly here at the back. So you have to give her a better round of applause because she is in fact here making her way. Janine Fletcher-Taylor, Marketing and International Development Strategist, Industry Innovation and Internationalization. That's her forte. Put your hands together for Janine Fletcher-Taylor. And rounding out our panel of adjudicators, Patrice Lindo, Project Manager at the Jamaica Stock Exchange. So the teams have drawn the order in which they will be presenting, and let me just tell you who the teams are. We have Team Boss Holdings, and as I call the team's name, of course, I'm going to give them a round of applause. And again, as I said earlier, I know you're not hungry, ladies and gentlemen. This is an exciting part of the program, so I do indulge and crave your celebration of the teams that are about to pitch as they look forward to you giving them support as they enjoy this. So let's do that again. Boss Holdings.
Relatively high disposable income, relatively high education. These individuals value experiences, post-work experiences for social media. Also, secondary markets to include families, sports fans, and events will be targeted. SWOT analysis, or strengths, the ambience, of course, I cannot stress it enough. And already existing client base. Our restaurant was on the property before, and the customers are clamoring for it to be open. A mixture of local and urban customers, less saturation in urban markets, and also, I'm not sure if you're familiar with West Rural St. Andrew, but it's semi-rural, so farm-to-table operations will be used to reduce costs. Weaknesses, limited foot traffic in comparison to urban areas. Accessibility, it's hard for people from the urban communities to be aware of more without aggressive marketing. Also the weather and reliable staffing within the area. Our opportunities, events and catering are the highest potential for economic revenue. Partnerships with local artisans, Airbnbs, digital marketing, urban development, and complementary businesses such as spas, ice cream shops can all be erected to complement more. Threats, urban competition, economic downturn, inflation, and weather hazards. Now let's talk about the food. Okay, so our mode of service will be fully plated service. That is, all our tasting meals will be prepared and plated in the kitchen, and servers will carry the food to you. Traditional sports bar menus, wings, house burgers, fries, sports festivals. For breakfast items now, it will be continental items, breakfast sandwiches, breakfast platters, and tacos.
Thank you so very much. Matthew Francis, gentlemen, put your hands together for him. And let's see if he set the mood for you and your pockets this afternoon. I know our judges may have questions for you, so you're gonna stick around and answer those questions.
Good afternoon. Presented your management team by name, but I'd be interested to hear the skills and how that boosts the quality of the business itself. And in your presentation, you would have listed your location as your main value proposition, but in your threats, it seemed to also be your biggest weakness, right? So if you could just explain to me what mitigation strategies you have in place for those businesses.
Sure, no problem. Repeat the first question.
Management team.
Management team. All right. So I myself, I am formerly trained in hospitality, hotel and resort management. I have about 10 years progressive experience in hospitality, facilities management, primarily at the managerial level. Also a team has complementary skills in project management, facilities management, as well 10 years experience. Stefan Francis at executive level and event management, wholesale distribution. For contingencies, in our capital expenditure budget, we have outlined areas in the land that we're going to sacrifice, roof covering, and also weather lines to protect and ensure that our customers are comfortable at all times.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. Good concept, but I want to ask you two questions. What problem are you solving, and what is your market to go strategy?
The problem that we are solving is, we're seeking to appease individuals looking for an escape from the urban environment. What we're saying is a mood. And you know, mood shift from hour to hour, day to day. But our primary mood is serenity, freedom, happiness, togetherness, celebration. Those are the moods that we will feel our restaurant in, and our service team communicated also to that.
Next question. What is your market growth strategy?
Apologies. First and foremost, 4 to 5% of our revenue will be spent on marketing, heavily digital marketing and branding to throw the site to ensure that those post-worthy moments that customers are seeking can be captured and remembered forever. So digital marketing heavily, also tactile brochures and promotional teams will be contracted to get the word out.
Good afternoon. Thank you for your presentation. As it relates to your operating structure, you would have mentioned that you're just operating for the weekend. How does that pan out for your total cost structure in terms of leveraging versus a restaurant that's open every day? How does that work in terms of staff retention and just overall profit?
With respect to staff retention, after 1 year, all relevant staff will be incentivized heavily to stay with us. That is to insurance schemes, commission schemes for events, and sales targets and recognition through that way.
I would ask you about your operating structure because you're only open on the weekend. How does that work in terms of your profitability?
I'm not sure how many of you guys on the panel are actually in the restaurant business, but you have to have a passion for it, and I'm definitely passionate about it. And you have to evaluate the risk versus the reward, especially the labor cost. To, of course, appease our guests that want to come in during the week, but we've decided that it's just not worth it, and we want to concentrate our revenue and our profitability over that 3 years time.
First, I want to congratulate you for pitching in front of this audience, which is not easy at all. So thank you. It is not easy to start and run a business in our environment either. So anybody that has the courage to try to do it, I applaud them. Having run a business myself, I know how hard it is. So my question is more around where you are right now. Is this preliminary? So you have the land, you've identified the land, and you want to put a structure on it, or are you already operating and this is an investment to grow those operations? Which of the two?
All right, so there are 2 freestanding structures on the property right now. One is a functional Airbnb, the other is a restaurant that has recently closed down due to mismanagement by the previous tenants. We've engaged the landlords, they love the idea so much that they don't want to lease, they want to partner with us. So they have decided to forego the lease payments in exchange for everything. And we have also secured the property by spending about 1.5 for 6 months. So the property is secured. And One reason why we haven't really finished the partnership agreement is because of this. I'm hoping to find some willing investors, private equity, that are willing to come on board and help us towards success.
Okay, just one question. I do appreciate you presenting, as I said. The question I'm asking is within the Golden Spring area, because we have done the research, correct? And there are other restaurants. You have there's a big restaurant somewhere along that stretch, and there are other small and medium-sized restaurants. I think it's Castleton, yes. And I did ask a question in terms of the marketing strategy, the outline, all of that. So in terms of the business model that we were trying to achieve, the $20.5 million you said, right? So in terms of looking at the competitive landscape, what were your thoughts, and do you believe that this is a feasible venture to tap into?
Okay, in terms of direct competition, there are about 4 regular bookshops within the area, that's your Jamaican cuisine. Direct competition would be 2 casual dining restaurants. One is Ladder 52, and the other one is, I think it's, I can't remember the name of it, it's in Mount James. They have the tables in the river. I'm sure you see them on the social media otherwise. You can't even get a reservation for that. Yes, so those would be our direct competitors within the area. But they don't talk about that. I am not worried. I think our value proposition is so unique that our target audience, those 25 to 45, seeking for those post-worthy experiences. Once we can get the message toward them with our aggressive marketing, we will definitely go. That's what we do.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much to Sir Francis, Mood Restaurant and Bar. And let's see at the end of the 6 presentations what the verdict is. Now, our next team will be Linchara Farms Limited. Put your hands together for Akeem Lynch, who's coming forward to present on behalf of his team. Keep that applause going, please. While he gets the click up for the presentation, just to remind the teams that after Linchara Farms presents, then we'll have Life Skills Education Limited.
On the podium.
Come on up. So we'll have Life Skills Education Limited following Linchara Farms.
Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Alright, so my name is Akeem Lynch. I'm the managing director and the founder of Linchara Farms Limited, and we're all the way in Clarendon.
In the meantime, while we stand by for Akeem's presentation, we hope that each of you in this room are making notes. Saw the previous team, that's Mood Restaurant and Bar, putting their numbers on the table, and of course, as these teams are judged, the expectation is that they will do the very same. So we're encouraging you to make notes. And at the end of this, a reminder to you also that our teams are vying for a first place prize of 500,000 Jamaican dollars, $100,000 for second place, and $50,000 for third place. So just ensure that each of you in this room are making notes of the various offerings, what's on the table, and if you see something that tickles your fancy, who knows? The conversation may very well be had right after the official pitch. So Lynchana Farms is next, then we'll have Lifestyles Education Limited, followed by Sterry Waste Management Limited, Council Flow Inc. will be our penultimate team, and then Boss Holdings will close the show.
Alright, so for Lynchana Farms Limited, we aim to revolutionize the Jamaica food ecosystem from seed to shelf. So what is the problem? Food security is a major issue in Jamaica right now. Right? So we are heavily reliant on imported produce, especially after the recent Hurricane Melissa, right? And also when we have droughts, etc. There's also high post-harvest losses due to the cold storage, a lack of cold storage. So what is the Lynchana farm solution? Hydroponics. So traditional farming methods, right? For example, lettuce will take approximately 12 weeks. Hydroponics can take half the time, right? We use 90% less water. We use less nutrients because it's a circular system. We use less manual labor, right? And we don't have any soil-borne diseases as well, so we use less pesticides. So this is a picture of our prototype. So we are currently non-operational. We have a prototype. I invested around $150,000 to start up, build it from scratch. So we are yet to test it and get market feedback. Our long-term goal is to have a cold storage unit on site. When we have a cold storage unit, we have less waste, post-harvest waste, right? And we also have crops for longer periods of time, so if there's a shortage, we can have supplies. Our target market is hospitality groups, hotels. We hope to fill the gap where they don't have to import. They can call on Lynchana Farms. Lynchana Farms can supply them with the fresh produce. We also have retail supermarkets such as Hypro, such as Hilo. We have other processors such as Grace, Kennedy. Our business model, direct to retail. We have higher margins through supermarket shelf space, business-to-business contracts, which is locked-in pricing with the hotels. We have expanded vegetable offerings, so you have the cauliflower, you have stuff like that for vegetarian restaurants. So Q1, Q2 build out, if we secure funding, we'll be able to set up our greenhouse, set up the automated system of our NFP, which is a nutrient film technique. For Q3, we should have our first commercial harvest and distribution to the initial first 3 supermarkets, our hotel. So why Lynchana? As I said before, we are on the way to Clarendon. We are another Clarendon, which is around 25-30 minutes from St. Anne's. And you know what is in St. Anne's? We have Ochi, we have hotels, right? We have restaurants. We are resilient, so unlike soil farmers, we can resume production within a couple of days after a major storm, like Hurricane Melissa. Scalability, because our system is modular, we can simply add channels. Or the pipes that we showed you before, we can simply just add those and go and increase our production. Alright, so what's the ask? We are asking for 12 million for 12% equity with the following allocations. 41.67% or 5 million, up to 5 million will be used to purchase refrigerated vehicle to maintain cold chain logistics. 33.33% or 1/3 of the build out, which is roughly around $4 million, will be used to set up the hydroponic system, the greenhouse, the automated system. 25% or $3 million will be go towards working capital. So this is an example, and these prices are taken from the JSE platform. So the price of a Arabian lettuce for as at January 17, 2026 was at $300 per pound, or around $660 per kilogram. right? So our monthly revenue, we report around 750,000. We have 3,000 heads, and we have roughly 2,500 heads. We have to account for some squareage. For Pakchai, our monthly revenue is 320 using the same metrics. Alright, and that is our presentation.
Thank you. With 1 minute to spare, ladies and gentlemen, China Farms, over $12 million at 12% equity.
I really liked this presentation. I like when I see Jamaican entrepreneurs